Jeremy Weiss here. We're here live at RetailX. We're here with Alison, and Alison is the head of content at RetailX.
Yes.
Alison, and so I want you to speak to. We'll talk about this show first and some of the trends you're seeing. But as far as this show goes, what's the buzz on the street? What are they liking as far as the content goes?
Let me tell you, we have a buzz, which is fantastic. I mean, there's like a real energy happening on the floor right now, which is so exciting to see as someone helping pull all of this together. I think right now there's kind of a thirst for knowledge as all of these different sides of retail converge. And so our goal with the show really is to bring those speakers, those peer-to-peer networking opportunities, those moments of collaboration to the show floor in an unexpected way, if you will, right? It's not always about listening to a speaker on a stage and that's the only way to learn today. It's really just about bringing people together.
Peer-to-peer. Oh yeah, together. They're really sharing. What is some of the most popular topics you're seeing this year at the show?
You know, it's interesting because
you have retail and you have e-commerce, and this show really measures the two in a big way.
Historically, it's been let's have the e-commerce guys learn about e-commerce innovation, and let's talk to the store design guys about what's happening in physical retail. And we get to play with that here. We get to play with that model, and where do those conversations and that content really intersect? And we're seeing a lot of buzz around the sessions that really address that. Whether it's the young startup e-commerce companies that are building full-line pop-ups and full-line stores for the first time, or the legacy Macy's, Nike, and Under Armours of the world that are historically, legacy brands in physical retail, really doing some innovative things on the digital side. So this kind of fusion of where the two sides are coming together is really, quite literally the intersection of where these sides of retail are colliding. That's really the hot spot of content for this show, and where we'll really grow in the future, really telling that story of how it's, I don't want to say colliding because that sounds terrible, but really converging into the future.
Yeah. So compare last year content, and now it's more of a convergence this year. Sure. Last year, what was the content like compared to this year?
So we have room to grow. Let me just start by saying that. But even if you look at our keynote speakers this year, right? Every keynote speaker that we put on a stage addressed both the physical and the e-commerce side of retail, because they're recognizing that to truly grow and scale, you have to operate effectively in both. So our keynotes this year were very strong, and I really look to build on that in the future. But it's really just breaking down the silos. I call it silo busting. I think our content has to help
it is
tell
really
the story of busting the silos of what's happening in our industry right now, and really open the conversation and dialogue for how we can seamlessly merge going forward.
How did you get into this industry?
Oh, well, I actually started as an intern at a little magazine called, at that time, Display and Design Ideas, which has now, over iterations, become Design Retail, which is the partner magazine with Global Shop. So I've been in that role for the last 18 years, and just 2 months ago, jumped ship from the magazine, where I was really the voice of looking at the industry and tracking trends and figuring out where our content needed to go for our audience to digest it and really be able to put it to use in a magazine medium format. So now, here we are in my first 48 days on the new job.
It's looking good.
I'm taking that same approach and putting it through the lens of what a retail event should be. What does everyone here need to be hearing and learning and seeing at an event of this magnitude to really have it be valuable for them and need and want to come back year after year? I was talking to some people yesterday, and I said, what's the biggest frustration you've had since you landed in Chicago? What's really bugged you about this? And I'm not making this up. Literally, all four of them said, I'm underprepared and I didn't bring enough of my team. Yeah. And that's the best compliment you could give me.
We're hearing that too, and we're also hearing some people who maybe brought one person from the e-commerce side and one person from the retail side. They need to bring more of people from each, and the people who only brought one or the other said, I need to bring the whole team.
And the real positive is I'm hearing people are overwhelmed, which is a problem we can fix, right? We can edit, we can curate, we can fix overwhelmed. It's better than being underwhelmed. I can
they're
fix
using those exact terms when we're talking to them. They say overwhelmed in a good way.
Right.
Meaning there's a lot of options. They just kind of need to start to navigate to it. Who are some of the most popular word on the street, like speakers sessions that you've heard people really enjoy?
I think people like hearing straight from the mouth of retailers and brands, right? And not necessarily your PR pitch, here's who we are and what we're trying to sell. It's really, here's where we had a real aha moment, a real win, and how we did it. Here's where we really jacked it up and it didn't go well, but we learned from it and we course corrected. And you don't always know what you're going to get before you put a speaker on a stage, but that's part of my job, right?
Yeah.
I'm really out in the industry all year round, talking to speakers, directing the content, and really building a program where we can tell stories that people need to hear.
Yeah.
One big learning that I've had this year just in talking to people is that retailers and brands not only come here to connect with vendors and talk to exhibitors and source product, but they really want to collaborate with their peers. So,
totally.
Peer-to-peer networking is something that we really need to put a lens on in the future, and how we bring these like-minded people together to share and collaborate and come up with the future of retail together.
So what kind of categories or topics are you looking at next year? Maybe too early to assess now. But
okay, so I'm gonna give you a little insider tip.
Yeah.
I love Post-it notes. I have probably 17 colors of Post-it notes in my office, and I have this one white wall, and I'm already working on tracks and contents and some sessions for next year. And my coworkers have started calling it my serial killer wall.
Exactly.
Because I literally have this kind of thumbnail. I'm seeing the future of what the content that this show will bring. So no, it's not too early. I think we're going to address some topics like mobile a little bit more in depth. Right now e-commerce is growing and growing rapidly, but as soon as 2 years from now, mobile purchases will outnumber purchases you complete on a laptop. So if we're not paying attention to that process and the vendors and technologies that need to be innovative to get us there, we need to. We're going to focus a lot more on the consumer. Because why is everything changing and why are we merging these shows? It's because the consumer's already there. The consumer is drastically different than the consumer we were trying to serve last year, if not last night. So I really want to bring in some more analysts and researchers and consultants and companies who really study consumer behavior.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what does that look like as far as focusing on the consumer?
Right, the instant society, Gen Z, digital native, like how does these people's psyches affect how they're purchasing things in a store? And there's so much to dive into there. I mean, I go to conferences all over the world all year long, and I'm constantly taking notes and I'm learning these things, and I can't just spew it all out to everybody. So I need to bring these, people here and maybe have an entire track on just the consumer. And this is why you need to pay attention, because they're changing so rapidly.
What do you look for in a speaker?
Can I have a conversation with you without notes? If we can just talk and we can talk about retail, and I know that you can carry a room, I think that's really valuable. We get so categorized in B2B or B2C, or I sell, or I buy, or I source, or I educate, or all of that. And
it's all integrated.
It's human to human, right? So I look for speakers who can connect with another human being, which is not always an easy trait to find, but I like to have conversations with speakers so that I know how they articulate thought versus just your resume.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily you have a title that therefore you speak. It's more about what is my audience going to take away, and it's a story and how you tell it. It's a story and how you tell it.
You're almost saying exactly. It's amazing. Even we had someone Amazon.
Yeah.
And Kilwin's chocolate. They say both from the e-commerce and the retail side, what they're looking at is the consumer, exactly what you're saying.
Customer first retail right now.
And on both sides of the coin, they're both looking exact.
Well, and it's so funny because I go to so many conferences, and Amazon is like the big bad word that everyone's terrified of right now. Oh my, Amazon, they're killing us all. But when I started in retail, it was Walmart, they're killing us all. There's always going to be someone that's going to be ahead of you. There's always going to be, and the best part of that is that Amazon has made all of us better retailers. Amazon has forced retail to be better, and that's beautiful. Whether it's better at delivery, or it's making us better at customer service, or it's making us look at our store designs and create experiential retail that customers want to get off the couch and go be part of. Amazon's helping us do that because it's making us think differently about what retail needs to be, what retail really is, the core of retail theater and retailtainment and connectivity and attaching yourself to a community. Retail can be all of that. You know, retail can be a center, a hub, a gathering place, and look at what Starbucks is doing with their reserve roasteries. I mean, they're building these beautiful brand houses where people come to just be. I don't come because it's 6 a.m. and I need a cup of coffee on my way to work. I come because I want to be part of this, be part of this thing that's grown and become a part of my life and my entity. So, you know, as retail changes, it's because the consumer's gotten us there, and we want to tell that story here at RetailX.
What should we tell people about coming next year? We're at this year. What should they expect next year?
I think 2019 is really RetailX 1.0. We had this idea and we wanted to bring this together, but it's still a little bit of 3 shows smushed into one building and 4 conferences smushed into one building. And so really our challenge for next year is really dissecting where the heat of the content lies and what that looks like for the attendee. I mean, the show floor can activate, the conference centers can activate, and we can have moments all throughout where people can make the big show small. That's really my goal, is to find moments where we can make the big show small.
Thank you. Live from RetailX.